Hi, folks. This is Joel Burdett, and I'm here to do your leadership topic for April. Instead of having just PowerPoint slides this time around, I'm going to do a little bit of a video and make things fun for you as we look at the topic for April, and it is resolving workplace conflict. Well, we've had a little bit of conflict here lately in our facilities, no doubt, and COVID-19, amidst many other stressors, are things that just add to sometimes that conflict. Conflict doesn't have to be bad. We can learn a lot from it. But I wanted to share some things first with you to be an encouragement, and then we'll kind of step through a few minutes of some things that might help you during this time in terms of setting a proper tone, etc. And I want to take you back to when I was in the Marine Corps. I did 24 years total in the Corps and had combat deployments and things of that nature. And I got to thinking, like, man, there are a lot of things that seem like very close parallels to those types of experiences and the unknown, and sometimes the fear that can be generated from the unknown, to friction, to anxiety, to all these types of things. And in the midst of all of that, I always went back to a verse, and that verse is 2 Timothy 1:7. And it says that, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." What a wonderful verse that is. And I've had to use that many times to just simply say, hey, Joel, take a step back and breathe for a second. So with that verse in mind, I wanted to share some things, because I know right now you're running around the facility, you're trying to take care of things there and at home, and you probably find yourself wearing many different hats. And with that in mind, I was going to share with you a few of those hats that I have worn, and then try to take a little bit of a humorous approach to some of these things as we deal with workplace conflict. This hat right here, well, we don't call them hats in the Marine Corps, we call them covers. And that's our little logo there, the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. And this is a desert cover, or desert hat. So there were times when I would wear this type of a hat when I was deployed, etc. And of course the camouflage has changed and has been updated, etc. But this is one hat that I used to wear. And then if it was a green environment, Alabama, somewhere that doesn't have a desert, you might wear a hat like this if you were deployed, like I did. Okay, well, maybe things are a little bit more formal. Perhaps A Few Good Men, if you remember that movie. There was this kind of a hat that you would wear. And this is what I wore when I had my Alphas, my service uniform on. Then there could be that occasion where, things were really fancy and we're going to go to the Marine Corps ball or something super dressy. So this next hat is the one that we would wear when it was a very formal occasion, where I'd wear my dress blues. And so with this hat on, off I'd go, all gussied up to have a good evening, or maybe a special guest visitor or something like that. So what I find myself doing these days is wearing a hat that's not even Marine Corps, funny enough. I wear this hat a lot now. And this hat, if you can see, as I show it up closer to you, it says Proud Dad of the Coast Guard. Our oldest son is active duty, and he's currently actually deployed, serving our country in the Coast Guard. But with all those hats, those things had to be set aside when I retired. But the parallels of things that we face in our facilities, I was like, well, you know what? I actually have a really special hat that I wanted to wear for that occasion. And so here you have it. I've got my little hat here, and we've got our name tag or my logo. And this is the hat we all wear now. And what a neat thing to be able to serve in this capacity, to share our experiences, to step through conflict and friction and things that are so uncertain in some ways, even now, and yet still come together and be able to accomplish literally our mission of serving our residents and serving them well and serving our teammates, reconnecting people to life through individuals serving individuals. So with that, I wanted to talk to you just briefly about some things that might help you this month for your leadership development piece, and that is the setting the tone. Setting the tone. There are some things that I used when I was in the Marine Corps that I wanted to share with you that I think you might find helpful. And Sun Tzu, who was a great philosopher and warrior, he said this: if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. And so take the word enemy and substitute that with perhaps COVID-19. Or any virus, or anything that's adversarial or is unknown or causes angst or perhaps might even generate conflict. Understanding and trying to know what that is, and then knowing yourself, you will go a long way towards mastery of setting the proper tone. Rudyard Kipling, who wrote The Jungle Book, amongst other things, has a quote that I really like in there. And it says, "For the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." And so as a pack, united as a team, that's what you're doing now, and you're leading your team. And I want to thank you for that. You're doing a wonderful job in leading. And then lastly, and from the military perspective, you might have heard this before, you might have even used it: train like you fight and fight like you train. We're in a fight right now. We're fighting for all kinds of things. We're fighting for people to live their best life. We're fighting against viruses and illnesses of all sorts. But if we are actually employing our skill sets the way that we've trained, which I believe we are, and I thank you for it, then it's not going to be any different. It's going to be smooth. And when it's smooth, things go well. So I commend you for working through these challenges. I have some key thoughts and some takeaways that I wanted to share with you. The first one we just talked about was knowing the importance of setting the tone for your team. You know, Doug would say, hey, I'm not freaking out. So if I'm not freaking out, you can't freak out. Now, I think that's funny. He said, but if I do freak out, then you have every right to do so as well. Now, we know that's not going to happen, but I do like when he says that. It just puts me at ease, and I hope that you too are put at ease in knowing that we have systems in place. We have subject matter experts that are helping all of us through managing conflict and resolving that conflict in our workplace. The second thing I wanted to offer is being resilient means knowing your limits and asking for help. Resilient, it's a big word, but what does it mean? It just means that you're simply able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. I think of like in a hurricane, right? And you see a palm tree and how it gets twisted and, all over the place. It gets bent all over the place, but it always comes back. It's resilient. It survives the storm. We too are going to survive the storm, whether it be the fear that I felt sometimes when I was in stressful combat situations. I now think, well, you know what? Nobody's shooting at me, or at least, Lord knows, I hope no one's shooting at us. So it's a perspective, and it's a game changer for your mindset when you have a proper perspective and you're resilient when you bounce back. Another point is to encourage the use of healthy outlets to deal with any anxiety that you might have. For example, my wife and younger son, we went fishing last weekend. I like getting outside, enjoying the outdoors, and we literally caught a nice mess of crappie and brought them home for a little home-caught, home-cooked meal. And it was a wonderful experience, and it just took my mind away. And hopefully you do things like that as well, where you can find a better balance. When things get crazy, stepping back for a second and just enjoying and being thankful and recognizing the good things that you have to celebrate and to enjoy. Cultivate your conversation with facts, hope, and even humor. I say that because humor, it's a great medicine for your soul, for your heart. It's even biblical. It talks about that in the Bible. It does well for us, just like a medicine. So cultivate your conversations with facts and hope, and not speculating, but just simply what you know, but also creating a hope and a positive spin on your messages and your communications. Celebrate the wins every day that reflect our mission and our core values. I love seeing all the things on Facebook and the innovative ways that you're using this workplace conflict to good, because conflict doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Conflict often is the driver for innovation and innovative new ways, whether it be hallway bingo, or it might be someone coming up to a window and communicating to a loved one or a resident in the home. Maybe it's FaceTime, whatever medium it is. Thank you for being innovative there and celebrating and lifting those things up. When you see your core values at play, compassion, our honesty, accountability, our relationships, and our trustworthiness, you see those at play every day, celebrate those. Someone might say, oh, well, I always do that. Well, they may, but when someone else knows that they've been recognized and they are feeling good about what they do, that matters and that makes a difference. You know, Ronald Reagan one time said, and he was talking about the Marines in this case, but I want to draw an analogy across to you and your facilities. He said that some people go their whole lives wondering whether or not they made a difference. And then he went on to say that the Marines don't have that problem. I would offer then as well for community elder care services in each of your facilities that you too are making a difference. You don't have to worry about whether or not you have or not, and you continue to do so every day. And I want to thank you for that. It does not go unnoticed. So well done, leaders, and well done in developing other leaders and setting the tone in that manner. Lastly, seek out the positive and endorse and encourage it. I love positivity. You know, it just does your mind and your heart so much good when you share a joy. You share something that is uplifting to someone else. So I encourage you to look for ways to spread that joy and to spread that positive outlook and that mindset. The last thing that I'll close out with is a thing called the Serenity Prayer. And you might be familiar with the Serenity Prayer, but I think it's so germane to what we're doing in the healthcare industry. But you know, things that you might be dealing with outside of work. It might be a relationship. It might be a spiritual or an emotional or even a physical battle of some sort. And here's how the prayer goes. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Amen. So, serenity, what does that mean? It means a being calm, peaceful, and untroubled. So God, please bring us that peace, that calm, even in the midst of our trials, in the midst of our friction that we might be facing, or even our uncertainty. Pray for the serenity to come. And then courage. The definition of courage is mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. Then lastly, wisdom, which is what all of you have, is your experience, what you bring to the table, your knowledge, and most of all, your good judgment. So that's a serenity prayer. I ask that if you feel like, you know, man, what am I going to do? I'm so, you know, hey, take a step back. Remember the verse that I shared with you at the beginning, 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And then on top of that, you think about the serenity prayer and knowing that God is going to provide you that wisdom as well, so you can be a discerner. So it looks like I'm getting ready to head back out there. So I've got to put my hat back on and get ready to hit the trenches. So this is your leadership development for April, and I hope that it's been an encouragement to you and that you've learned something. Please feel free to share as much as you'd like or come back to it when you need encouragement, because you too are making a difference. Thank you.